Many years ago, in the beautiful city of Mombasa, lived a man named Azizi who was young and successful. On this fateful evening, he stood on the rooftop of a fancy restaurant with his heart pounding. His hands were sweaty as he rehearsed his words. Tonight was the night. He was going to propose to his girlfriend Nala. They had been together for a year and he was very sure she was the one. He was nervous as he paced back and forth, trying to perfect his words. Nala, from the moment I met you, I knew you were the one. No, 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 that's too simple. He cleaned off the sweat from his forehead and sighed. Why was he so nervous? He had built a successful life, managed big business deals, and made difficult decisions. Yet, proposing to the love of his life had his stomach in knots. A waiter approached him, carrying a silver tray. On it sat a small red velvet box that contained the engagement ring. Azizi swallowed hard and nodded in appreciation as he collected it. At that moment, Nala arrived in a long, elegant lilac dress that flowed as she stepped onto the rooftop. Immediately, her eyes widened at the sight before her. There were soft candle lights, soft Swahili music playing in the background, and a beautifully arranged dinner table at the center. Azizi, what is all this? She asked out of surprise. Azizi took a deep breath, walked up to her, and dropped to one knee. Nala, you have been my joy, my peace, and my best friend. Every moment with you is precious. I don't want a life without you in it. Will you marry me? The moment was an emotional one as Nala couldn't hold back her tears. Her hands trembled as she nodded, forcing herself to speak. Yes, Azizi, I will marry you. The small crowd on the rooftop, who were strangers and restaurant staff, erupted into cheers and applause. Azizi slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into a warm embrace. This was the happiest moment of their lives. A week later, just before the wedding plans began, Azizi knew it was time to take Nala to meet his mother, Taraji. Taraji was a strong, independent woman. She had been a widow for over 10 years and had built a successful fabric and jewelry business from scratch. She was a woman of class, discipline, and unusual wisdom. The drive to Taraji's house was smooth. Nala, who was dressed in a simple but elegant dress, was nervous but excited. She had heard so much about Azizi's mother, and now she was finally going to meet her. Azizi noticed how she kept adjusting her dress and glancing at her reflection in the car's mirror. Relax, Nala. My mom is going to love you. Nala exhaled and nodded. I just want to make a good impression. You already have. Don't bother yourself, Azizi assured her. When they arrived at Taraji's home, Nala was immediately impressed. The house was large and tastefully decorated with African and luxurious arts. It was clear that Taraji had a refined taste. As they stood at the door, they could already perceive the smell of coconut rice and spiced fish from the kitchen. Azizi knocked twice on the heavy mahogany door, and within seconds, it swung open to reveal Taraji. As soon as Taraji saw them, she welcomed them warmly. Azizi, my dear, she exclaimed and hugged him tightly before stepping back to examine him. Then her eyes fell to Nala. For a moment, Nala felt small under her gaze, but then Taraji's face softened into a warm smile. And this must be the famous Nala, she said, extending her arms. Nala stepped forward, relieved by the warm welcome, and hugged her. Welcome to my home, my dear. I have heard so much about you. Nala bowed respectfully. Thank you, ma. Come sit, Taraji said, gesturing towards a set of carved chairs around a large wooden table. As they settled down, Taraji clapped her hands, and a house help arrived with a tray carrying freshly squeezed juice and warm samosas. Let's eat while we talk, she said warmly. Nala instantly felt at home. The conversation flowed naturally. Taraji asked Nala about her background, career, and family. She was kind and accommodating, making Nala feel like part of the family already. Then, after dinner, when the plates had been cleared, Taraji made a surprise announcement. I have a gift for both of you. Azizi and Nala looked at each other surprised. A gift? Azizi asked. Yes, Taraji smiled. I will sponsor your honeymoon, but the location will be a surprise. Nala's eyes widened. Wow, that's so generous of you, ma, she said with gratitude. Taraji smiled. You are now my daughter. It is only right that I give you a proper send-off into marriage. Azizi, who was touched by his mother's kindness, stood up and hugged her. Thank you, mother. Taraji smiled and patted his cheek. Don't thank me yet. Just make sure you don't disappoint Nala. Nala blushed and Azizi laughed. I won't, mother, I promise. The wedding day soon arrived and it was magical. The venue was a luxurious beachside resort, decorated with white and gold drapes, elegant floral arrangements, and fairy lights that twinkled under the sun. The sound of ocean waves in the background, too, added to the dreamlike atmosphere. Nala looked stunning in her Swahili-inspired wedding dress, a beautiful white lace gown with intricate gold embroidery. Her hair was tied in an elegant bun and adorned with delicate pearls. Azizi stood dressed in a tailored cream-colored kanzu and a gold-trimmed coat. He couldn't take his eyes off her. You look breathtaking, he whispered as she joined him at the altar. Nala smiled shyly. As they were pronounced husband and wife, the crowd cheered and Taraji sat watching emotionally from her seat. She smiled proudly. My son is finally a man. That night, after the celebration, Azizi and Nala returned home, exhausted but happy. As they changed into their sleep clothes, Azizi turned to Nala and teased, Are you ready for our honeymoon? Nala giggled. Of course, I can't wait. They had already packed their bags a day before, excited about the trip. But the next morning, their expectations were about to be cut short. Azizi and Nala were still in bed when they heard a loud knock at their door. Azizi groaned and dragged himself to the door, but when he opened it, his eyes widened in shock. Standing there at the door with 4 huge suitcases was his mother Taraji. Nala appeared behind Azizi, rubbing her eyes sleepily. Azizi was confused. Mother, you are here so early. Taraji smiled warmly. Good morning, my dear. Nala bowed respectfully at Taraji and helped her take the suitcases inside. Azizi was still confused. Mother, what is going on? Taraji stepped inside proudly and said sweetly, I have come for the honeymoon. Nala was relieved, while Azizi further asked, Yes, the honeymoon. Did you bring our tickets? Taraji rolled her eyes. Which tickets? Oh, didn't I tell you? The honeymoon will be happening right here with me. There was silence as Nala and Azizi stared at her shocked. Surely she was joking, right? Nala swallowed hard and forced a smile. Mother, you mean you will be staying with us? Yes, my dear. This is your honeymoon. I thought it would be wonderful if we spent this special time together as a family. Aziz's jaw clenched. He wanted to protest, but found himself unable to speak. Nala stood frozen, watching her mother-in-law settle in, as if it was her house. Azizi finally spoke, but cautiously. Mom, I thought honeymoon is meant for just the couple. But Taraji waved a hand dismissively. Nonsense. Marriage is not just about the couple. Family matters too. Besides, I need to teach Nala how to be a wife and take care of a home properly. Nala felt a chill run down her spine. What did her mother-in-law mean by that? Well, she was about to find out soon. The next morning, just as Nala was about to sleep in and enjoy the cold morning, Taraji's voice echoed through the house. Nala, wake up! Come to the kitchen now! Nala's eyes flew open. She turned to look at Azizi, who was still asleep. Maybe she was dreaming. Did someone call her? Just then, a loud knock landed on their bedroom door. Nala, my dear, it's morning. Time to prepare breakfast. Nala sighed and dragged herself out of bed. She followed Taraji to the kitchen, where the older woman gave her the first shock of the day. All right, so you will have to prepare nyamachoma and ugali, Taraji said. Nala's heart dropped. This was supposed to be her resting period and honeymoon, but here she was being ordered to prepare a full meal that would take more than 1 hour for breakfast. Mother, I thought we were on our honeymoon, she asked with a polite smile. Yes, but marriage means responsibility. A wife must always take care of her home no matter what, Taraji said firmly. Nala bit her tongue silently, nodded and got to work. She spent 2 hours in the kitchen, sweating over the stove. Meanwhile, Taraji sat comfortably in the living room with Azizi, chatting and laughing. Nala wanted to cry, but it was too early. When she finally served the food, Azizi's eyes lit up as he saw his favorite meal. Ah, this looks amazing, he grinned and dug in without a care in the world. Nala stood at the side watching him. Would he at least ask her to sit down or even acknowledge the effort she put in? Unfortunately, she got nothing. He was too busy enjoying the meal. Taraji ate silently, watching everything. She saw the sadness in Nala's eyes and the way her hands trembled slightly from exhaustion. She also saw the careless nonchalance in Aziz's posture and the way he enjoyed his food without sparing a second thought for his wife. She said nothing, but inside, she was taking notes. After they finished eating, Azizi leaned back, rubbing his full stomach, while Nala instinctively stood up to clear the table. After the table was cleared, Taraji sent her on another one again. Nala, go and help me unpack my bags and arrange my room first. Then take the clothes from that blue suitcase for washing. They are very dirty. Nala's heart jumped up. She looked at her husband and then her mother-in-law in disbelief. But she controlled herself and nodded before going to do as she was told. As for Azizi, he just picked up a toothpick and leaned back on the couch, watching TV, completely unbothered. Not once did he ask his mother why she was ordering Nala around like a servant. Not once did he even offer to help. Nala walked away helplessly. Was this what marriage was going to be for her? By noon, she was back in the kitchen again preparing lunch, and after lunch, she was mopping the floors. By evening, she was exhausted beyond words. That night, after everyone had retired, Taraji walked down the hallway on her way to her room. But as she passed by the couple's bedroom, she heard voices. She stopped and pressed her ears on the door to listen. Azizi, I am tired. Nala's voice came through emotionally. I have been working all day. This was supposed to be our honeymoon, but I feel like I'm just a maid. Taraji held her breath, waiting to hear how Azizi would respond. She hoped for the sake of her son's marriage that he would at least acknowledge his wife's pain. But his answer was worse than she imagined. Nala, don't start complaining. It's too early, he said dismissively. These are just normal chores now. What is the big deal there? Besides, this is a good time for you to bond with my mother, not to start complaining. Taraji closed her eyes and shook her head. So, he is just like his father, she whispered to herself. She knew this story very well. She had lived the reality for years. When she was a young wife, she had endured exactly what Nala was enduring now. Her husband expected her to cook, clean, serve, and take care of everything while he relaxed. Even his mother, her own mother-in-law, supported him and made life worse for her. She had suffered in silence because she thought that was what marriage was supposed to be. But she had learned the hard way. Now she was seeing it happen again with her own son. She turned and walked back to her room quietly. The next day, Nala woke up feeling numb. She had decided that there was no point in complaining anymore, since even her own husband did not understand her. She would just do as she was told and pray that this nightmare would end soon. So, when Taraji called her to the kitchen that morning, she went without hesitation. She cooked breakfast, washed the dishes, cleaned the living room, did the laundry, and served everyone. For an entire week, Taraji piled work upon work on Nala, and Azizi never for once asked if she needed help. At some point, Nala started to wonder, was this her fate? Would she spend the rest of her life like this? What next was she to expect? Surprisingly, the following week, Taraji, who was now the queen of the house, decided to shake things up. That morning, instead of waking Nala up for work, Taraji called her into her room and gave her her tablet to help her choose some hall decoration styles. She gave her enough job to keep her locked in. Today, I need you to help me choose some hall decoration styles for an event I am organizing. Nala blinked in surprise. Is that all, ma? Taraji smiled. Yes, my dear, that is all. Take your time. Nala slowly sat down, waiting for the catch because she didn't believe this yet. This had to be a trick because how can? She had spent last week working like a maid while Azizi did nothing. Why was she suddenly getting a break? But she didn't question it too much. If her mother-in-law wanted her to sit and scroll through decoration styles, then that she would do. Meanwhile, Taraji went downstairs to call Azizi. Azizi, go to the kitchen and prepare nyamachoma and ugali. That is what we'll be eating today. Azizi, who was sipping his morning tea comfortably, nearly choked. What? Go into the kitchen and cook, Taraji repeated. Azizi laughed nervously. Mother, you know I don't cook. Where is Nala? Taraji folded her arms. Nala is busy. Azizi frowned. What is she busy with? She's working on something important for me. Now, get up and go cook. Azizi's face twisted in frustration. Mother, tell her to cook. That is what she does. She can continue with whatever she's doing later. But Taraji's eyes flashed dangerously. Oh, so it is only Nala that knows how to cook while you don't. Well, Nala would be very, very busy throughout today, so you will have to do all the housework. Azizi grumbled, but he had no choice. He dragged himself into the kitchen, complaining the whole way. Unknown to him that this was just the beginning of his nightmare. What should have been a simple cooking task turned into a disaster. Azizi did not even know where the cooking oil was. He cut onions the wrong way and they burnt immediately, such that he almost set the kitchen on fire. By the time he finally managed to put something on the table, it was already afternoon. Meanwhile, Nala was upstairs, sitting comfortably, scrolling through her mother-in-law's tablets. Taraji even brought her juice and biscuits. When Nala finally came down to eat, she was shocked when she saw Azizi serving the food. "Azizi, you cooked this?" she asked in surprise. Taraji smiled knowingly. "My dear, eat to your fill. You still have a lot of work to do for me today." Nala nodded and ate while Azizi, on the other hand, was boiling with anger. After eating, Nala instinctively stood up to clear the table, but Taraji stopped her. "Leave those plates. I haven't finished eating. You just go back to my room and continue your work." Azizi's eyebrows furrowed. "Wait, Mom, so who will clear the table if she goes up?" Taraji slowly turned to him and eyed him. "If you can't clear the table, then leave it like that now, since you don't have hands to do it." Azizi was angry and grumbled yet again. "Mother, I don't understand this arrangement, so how can..." But Taraji shunned him. "Don't you dare talk back at me. I am still your mother. You better clear this table and go wash those dishes quickly because you have to iron a huge pile of clothes for me." Azizi shouted. "Eh? No now. What happened to giving them to a dry cleaner?" Taraji laughed. "Eh? So there was dry cleaner when Nala did the same laundry last week without complaining. My friend, will you get up and get to work immediately?" Azizi grumbled and went into the kitchen, but Taraji was not done yet. After Azizi finished ironing, he dragged himself to the couch ready to rest. But the moment he sat down, Taraji handed him a mop stick. "Yeah, clean up this living room," she ordered. Azizi stared at her in disbelief. "Mother, please, let's be reasonable. I am tired." "Oh, you are tired? But what did Nala do when she was tired?" "Oh, I remember. She still worked without complaining. Now get up and clean up this place." Azizi had no choice. He grumbled and complained, but he still obeyed. Throughout that day, he didn't rest. It was from one chore to another. Meanwhile, upstairs, Nala was enjoying a pack of biscuits and juice, casually scrolling through decoration styles. She was cautious though. She didn't know where this was leading, but for now, she was happy to be away from house chores. Later that evening, she walked into her bedroom and found Azizi lying face down on the bed, exhausted. She asked worriedly, "Azizi, are you okay?" Azizi groaned. "Nala, I don't even understand how today went. I have not had this kind of day before." Nala raised an eyebrow. "Really? What did you do?" "You don't want to know. I cooked. I washed dishes. I ironed clothes. Cleaned. My mom didn't even let me rest at all." Nala giggled. "Oh, so you did what I have been doing all week." Azizi sighed. "Nala, please, my body is aching. Help me massage my back." Nala burst out laughing. "Massage you? Why? You still haven't told me exactly what you did today to warrant all these complaints and reports." Azizi ignored her and continued grumbling. The second week of their supposed honeymoon continued the same way. Taraji was in charge, Nala was free, and Aizy was working. Each morning, Taraji would call Nala into her room and assign her an easy task. First, it was choosing decoration styles. Then it was sorting through business proposals. And now it was watching a movie and just giving her opinion on it. A movie? Nala had to ask in disbelief. Yes, my dear, Taraji smiled. Tell me if you like the storyline and how the characters performed. You can stay in the living room if you want. Meanwhile, downstairs, Aizy was not having it easy at all. Taraji handed him a long list of chores. Number 1, sweep and mop the floors. Number 2, wash the dishes. Number 3, clean the guest room. Number 4, prepare lunch. Aizy frowned deeply and looked for an excuse to escape. Mother, this will have to wait oh. I have a business meeting this morning. Taraji raised an eyebrow. Which meeting? Didn't you say that you both took a 3-week leave for your honeymoon? This is just the 2nd week. So which meeting, Aizy? Aizy scratched his head. But mother, this is not honeymoon now. Why should I stay here anyway? Taraji smirked. Oh, but Nala is still here and she hasn't complained. Remember, she's the bride, so this honeymoon should even matter more to her. Yet, she isn't running away. Aizy opened his mouth to argue, but quickly shut it. Something was happening here, but he couldn't figure out what. He looked at Nala, who was sitting comfortably watching her movie while sipping a cold drink. What kind of honeymoon is this? I don't understand your plan, no mother, he mumbled under his breath. These arrangements continued till that week ended. Taraji made sure Nala didn't do anything. She would go in and stay with her, laughing and talking, while Aizy did all the work. And soon, Nala became more comfortable with her. However, by the end of the 2nd week, Aizy had somewhat adjusted. He was no longer grumbling as much. He cooked meals even though sometimes they were either too salty or slightly burnt. He washed the dishes without being asked to do so. And he also did the laundry effortlessly. And then the next week, which was supposed to be the 3rd week of their honeymoon, everything changed. Aizy and Nala were deep in sleep when they heard a loud knock on their door. Bo, bo, bo. They both jolted awake. What is happening? Who is that? Aizy groaned. Wake up, you two. Taraji's voice rang through the door. The couple dragged themselves up and opened the door. They were shocked to see Taraji standing there with 2 sheets of paper. She handed one to Aizy and one to Nala. What is this? Aizy asked, still rubbing his sleepy eyes. Taraji smiled mockingly. Your tax for today. Azizi's heart sank and he tried to complain. Mom, again? But Taraji held up a finger and silenced him. No complaints. Get to work immediately. She turned and walked away. Nala looked at her own paper and laughed. Aizy frowned. What is funny? Nala grinned. Everything, oh. I don't understand your mother and the games she's playing. But I like it. It is really getting interesting. Aizy looked at her suspiciously. Wait, did you plan this with my mother? Nala rolled her eyes. Oh, please. I should be asking you that. Is she not your mother? Anyway, let's get to work before she comes back, oh. Aizy sighed heavily, but he followed his wife downstairs. When Aizy finally calmed down to look at his task list, he realized something had changed. For the first time, the chores were balanced. Nala was in charge of cooking, dusting and arranging the rooms, while Aizy was in charge of cleaning the floors, washing dishes and doing laundry. It wasn't one-sided anymore. And as they worked, something surprisingly happened. Aizy noticed that they finished the work faster. Wait, we already done? He asked with a look of surprise. Nala wiped her hands on a towel. Yes, now, that is what happens when you share responsibility. You don't get to suffer alone. Azizi blinked. Now, he saw how much easier and better things could be when they worked together. For days, the atmosphere in the house had been peaceful. Nala had finally started to feel at ease. Since Taraji split the chores equally between her and Azizi, everything seemed balanced. Azizi no longer ignored the housework, and Nala no longer felt overworked. They finished their task early, and now they had time to enjoy each other's company. For the first time since their wedding, they felt like a real couple. Nala even dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, things were finally falling into place. But she had underestimated Taraji because just when she thought everything was going well, Taraji struck again. What is Taraji up to this time around? What do you think the reason for her actions might be? Is she for them or against them? Stay tuned to find out in the next part. Thank you for watching this story. Let me know your thoughts about it. Give the story a thumbs up and share the story out with your loved ones. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so by now. Until I bring the next part your way. Bye!